From a great morning run to the sun reflecting on the lake, there's absolutely something very magical about lake living. And I think that lake living could change your life and your lifestyle. Have you ever considered living on one of Kansas City's lake communities? Well, this would be a year-round double fun, right? So I'm here in this video to share with you 14 lake communities. I'm just going to give you a quick highlight of them and then let you decide whether or not lake living is going to be for you. Hi, if we've never met before, my name is Anita Cordell and I make videos about all things Kansas City. I'm also a licensed real estate agent and a team lead of the Yellow Brick Group, and we help people just like you buy, sell, relocate, and invest right here in our amazing city. All right, as we go into this video about these communities, my whole purpose is to open your eyes to Kansas City's lake communities and share some of what it's like to live there. If you are watching this video and you're moving into the area and you are not familiar with the landscape, we are actually one of those few cities that sits on the state line of two states. One is the Kansas side and one is the Missouri side. Most of the properties that I'm going to talk about are all in the state of Missouri, but there's a couple on the Kansas side that I will also spotlight. Here at the Yellow Brick Group, we want to share with you that every single one of these lake communities has a different personality, and hopefully you will see that in this video. All right, we're going to dive in and start with the first section, which talks about the Kansas properties. So let's start with the first one, Lake Quivira. From a high level view, Lake Quivira is located on the northern part of Johnson County. It's off of 435 and it has 225 acres. The school district is Shawnee Mission School District. Within Lake Quivira, there's a clubhouse as well as dining on the lake. There's not a community pool within Lake Quivira. Now, the interesting thing about Lake Quivira is that most of the properties were built in the 1950s all the way to the 1990s, so they're going to be a little bit older and have a little bit more of a character versus some of the other properties. The amenities that are in Lake Quivira include a boat dock, a community center. There's even a daycare and an equestrian facility. There's an exercise room, the golf, of course, that I mentioned, the party room, pickleball court, play area. There's a putting green, a sauna, there's tennis courts, and there's trails. The price range in Lake Quivira runs anywhere between about $600,000 all the way up to $2 million, with the average sales price of $987,250. All right, moving on to the next community is called Cedar Creek. And Cedar Creek is located on K10 on your way out of Kansas City towards Lawrence. It's west of K7. The lake is 65 acres, and while the lake is smaller than Lake Quivira, the community at large of Cedar Creek is a lot bigger. There's about 1,600 families that live around there, plus more, and they're building more as well. The Cedar Creek community is really honestly a very special place in my heart. It was my very first real estate transaction back in 2001, 2002. I was working on this deal with some clients, and another reason why it's a special place in my heart is because if you've followed me over the years in social media, you've seen some family photos of me on a bridge. And this was when we used to foster kids, and we really wanted to have a symbolism of being a bridge for other foster families. And this photo that we took here was so symbolic, and that bridge is at Cedar Creek. So there's a couple of the reasons why I just absolutely love this community. Cedar Creek actually doesn't only just have single family homes, but they actually have a villa, which is maintenance provided in the community. So if you love the community, you have some options and you wouldn't even have to leave the community. Here are some of the amenities of Cedar Creek. There's a 65-acre fishing lake. There's 2 swimming pools, 2-story clubhouse with a party room, basketball court, racquetball court, pickleball court. The school district for Cedar Creek is Olathe. And of course, there's walking trails. Now, there are 5 different neighborhoods within the Cedar Creek community, all ranging in the price of $600 all the way up to about $2.5 million, with an average sales price right at about $1 million for a 3,800 square foot home. The unique thing about Cedar Creek is that some of these properties are anywhere between 30 to 40 years old, but you can also do a build job and get something newer if you want to build into that community. While there are some really great agents out there that will sit in the construction sales offices and offer to help you out, their fiduciary responsibility is always to the seller or the builder or the developer. So it's worth having a representative for you so that you can be represented and have a covering over you. It's that you want to be represented too. Whether you're building a property or you're buying a resale, you really want to be represented. The 3 lake communities that I want to share with you in the Northland are Riss Lake, Weatherby Lake, and Lake Waukomis. All 3 of these lake communities feed into the award-winning Park Hill School District. Not only that, but they're super close to Parkville. And so if you want to learn more about the Parkville area, I have actually just recently posted a video about all things Parkville and what the hype is all about. So go ahead and check that out as well. Let's start with Riss Lake. Riss Lake also has a maintenance provided area. The lake is about 134 acres and the population is about 740. Now the interesting thing about Riss Lake is while there's a lake there's not a clubhouse, there's no dining on the lake, and there's no golfing. However, there are some other fantastic things about this lake community. There are 3 pools, there's trails, there's a tennis court, playgrounds, and they include pickleball in their amenities. Now, I do have family that live in the Riss Lake community. The reality of it is they have never ever gone out onto the lake. In my opinion, Riss Lake doesn't have necessarily the resort feel like what the Ozarks might have, or even some of the other communities that I'm going to spotlight. However, it is a great place to get introduced to a lake community. You don't have to actually go out onto the lake in order to enjoy some of the amenities that are there. The price of this community starts at about $575,000 and goes all the way up to $1.2 million. And that $1.2 million property is about 6,800 square feet. Now the average in Riss Lake is about $704,532. There is one property that's coming up on the market. It's $6.9 million. It's in the Woodland Shores estates. One reason why it's a little more expensive than the normal in Riss Lake is it sits on 2.22 acres and it's a little over 18,000 square feet. So it's not necessarily moving into the average of Riss Lake. It's definitely an exception to the rule. All right, now we're gonna go to Weatherby Lake. Weatherby Lake is so sweet and the atmosphere of Weatherby Lake is such a great little area. The population is right at about 2,000 and the lake is 274 acres. I know that the lake is double the size of Riss Lake. However, there are some things that are allowed at Weatherby Lake that are not allowed at Riss Lake, such as wakeboarding. But the overall atmosphere of Weatherby Lake feels a little bit more resorty, if you will, than Riss Lake in my opinion. Weatherby Lake has a singles club, a yacht club, a junior sailing club, and it even has a women's club. While there is not a clubhouse per se within the lake community, there's a community center that you can go to. The community center makes the community actually a lot more tight-knit than what you would imagine. And then even the sports enthusiasts who love golf and who love tennis courts, they also can have like nature trails and surrounding this green space within Weatherby Lake. You can spend the day around the lake and even tap into some of those picnic areas. In fact, there are 19 access points to the lake. Those access points will include restrooms, showers, picnic areas, swim docks, and there's one specific one called Sea Point Access. It even has wheelchairs equipped. Prices in the area here are a little lower than Riss Lake and they range anywhere between $400,000 all the way up to $1 million, with the average being $770,000. At the time of this recording, there were only 2 properties that were for sale in Weatherby Lake versus 6 properties for sale in Riss Lake. All right, and the last lake community that I want to cover is Lake Waukomis. The lake is 90 acres and there's a population of about 990 people in Lake Waukomis. Some of you who are watching this who are die-hard lake community homeowners and you see that I'm actually spotlighting Lake Waukomis, you're probably gonna go, Why are you spotlighting Lake Waukomis? There's so many limitations to it because it's so small. However, I did want to just spotlight this because of a couple reasons. If you are wanting to get into the lake community experience, you want to be a little bit more on a starter home price, this could be the way to do it. On this lake, there's kayaking allowed, there's canoes allowed, there's paddle boards allowed, there's even pontoon boats allowed, and of course you can fish. You can also reserve the South Park where it's got walking trails and 2 baseball fields. There's a shelter area, grills, and a pavilion that you can rent. Now the price in Lake Waukomis ranges anywhere between $300,000 and $500,000 with the average sales price of $414,714. Now there are 14 lake communities in the Kansas City area. Can you believe it? 14. 2 of the lake communities that I'm going to cover, you as a diehard person might not necessarily agree with me in the sense that they're not really resort type feeling. People who are wanting to experience a lake community are going to enjoy at least these 2 side lake communities because it's a way for someone to actually get into a lake community that's just a little bit more affordable, and you'll see why. Now that we've covered the Kansas side and the Northland, Missouri side, we're gonna move south of the river and cover the southern part of Kansas City. Now, there are 9 lake communities in this whole area, which is unheard of in most cities, but yet these lake communities really provide you with an option for living kind of a resort living. Let's dive into the first 5 of Jackson County. So let's dive in and talk about Lakewood. Lakewood is a resort style, large scale community. So if you are wanting to go all in, Lakewood could be your community. This lake is 365 acres. Due to the fact that this is this size, I am confident that you're going to find your favorite spot. Lakewood is located just south of I-70 and 291 highway headed into the Lee Summit area. It has a population of about 2,200 people. There's tons of social events. There's a clubhouse, a golf course. There's athletic fields that don't just include your standard pickleball and tennis courts. And let's not forget about the restaurants. There's also a sandy beach that is really close to the main clubhouse, which is a really popular place for people to gather and go swimming. Lakewood also includes villas. The pricing in Lakewood will range anywhere between $200,000 all the way up to $1.25 million, with the average sales price being about $505,214. Now, obviously with this, the higher priced homes are going to include those properties that are closer to the water or that might be on a cul-de-sac that's got a lake view, or you can get a villa for a lot less expensive. The schools in Lakewood include the award-winning school district of Lee Summit, as well as Blue Springs. Both are top-rated schools. Okay, our second one over on the North Jackson County area is Lake Tapawingo. Now, in complete contrast to Lakewood, Lake Tapawingo is on the other side of 291, and it is such a smaller community. The lake sits on 87 acres, and when you drive around the lake, you can actually feel and see the difference. Most of the homes on that first tiered deck literally have no yard. It's right on the water. So if you're wanting a smaller lake community, this may be the place for you. A really unique feature about Lake Tapawingo that there's skiing allowed versus some of the other lake communities where it is not. Like Lakewood, it doesn't allow for skiing. Now, Lake Tapawingo does have a boat dock, a clubhouse, and they have a pickleball court. And Lake Tapawingo is in Blue Springs School District. Price ranges anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $1 million. The average in Lake Tapawingo is about $479,338. One more interesting fact about Lake Tapawingo is that a lot of the homes do not have basements. So you will see the way that these houses were designed back years ago. A lot of them are on slabs or on crawl spaces, which is not a super common trait when you're looking on the grand scheme of things in Kansas City. But when you're looking at Lake Tapawingo, there's quite a number of them that don't. The reason why people love Tapawingo is the community. It's lake living at a small scale at its finest, and people don't want to leave there. In fact, they stay for generations. It's a pretty cool little area. All right, moving on to Woodland Shores. Now, Woodland Shores is a community that was built around a long-standing lake. Homes there are anywhere between 20 to 25 years old at this point, and the lake is about 150 acres. It is one of the only communities that sits on a public lake. So just keeping in mind that even though it's a public lake, the crowds are not that big. Woodland Shores has about 200 properties, and it's in the Lee Summit area, nestled basically on the northeast corner of Prairie Lee Lake, and it's just south of Lake Giacomo. It is surrounded by thousands of acres of parkland, trails, undeveloped woodlands. There's also a 4,000 square foot community swimming pool. It's got its own covered slip marina, quick access to shopping centers, quick access to the highway, and it's in the award-winning Lee Summit School District. And there's also villas at Woodland Shores. Price ranges in Woodland Shores is $585,000 all the way up to $885,000, with an average being $735,750. Now, this is a small community that's probably going to cause a little bit of backlash if you're watching this and you're a diehard lake community homeowner. I'm going to spotlight a small lake community called Chapman Farms. The lake is only 30 acres. Most of the properties do not have like that lake access. It's bordered though by a 1-mile fitness trail, and it goes along the lake. And so if you're wanting to experience or have access to a small lake and do some fishing or whatever, I wanted to spotlight this community just because it's got some level of features when it comes to a lake community. The price range in Chapman Farms ranges anywhere between $450,000 all the way up to $700,000, with an average being around right at $500,000. And there are villas in this area. Moving on to the next lake community is such a popular place. It's called Lake Lotawanna. This community is located in eastern Lee Summit, and it's just off of Colburn Road along 7 Highway. And it is a great option for a summer home if you live, like, say, on the Kansas side and you want to kind of come into the city a little bit closer but have lake access. This would potentially be the place to buy in. Lake Lotawanna is the largest private lake in the entire Kansas City metropolitan area. This lake sits on 480 acres. 480 acres of surface water, as well as there's a 27 miles of shoreline. Lake Lotawanna is such a fantastic little town. It's got some small town characteristics, and yet you're still really close to the big city. It offers enjoyable time. There's some restaurants, there's some civic organizations. They're the only lake community within 30 miles of the Kansas City area where you can enjoy sailing regattas, but also speedboating, ice boating, pontoon boating, kayaking, canoeing, water skiing, tubing, swimming, fish tournaments, and a whole lot more. No other lake in the Kansas City area can claim all the diverseness that Lake Lotawanna offers. Now, the option to have your own dock is a luxury. This is a great drawing card for this community. There is no golfing in Lake Lotawanna, and there are no villas. Now, it is Lee Summit School District, and the price ranges anywhere between $300,000 all the way up to $1.2 million, with the average sales price of $754,773. All right, and we are on our last 4 lake communities in the southern part of Jackson County and into Cass County. One of them is where Patrick Mahomes lives. All right, the first one is Lake Winnebego. It's located in the southern part of Lee Summit off of 291. Lake Winnebego, in a lot of people's opinion, is the best kept secret for all lake communities within the Kansas City metropolitan area. The lake is about 400 acres. In my opinion, it's a good option for luxury living. And it's surrounded by all of this natural wooded area, a park, walking trails, and even a stable. So if you like horses, this might be a good option for you. There's a population of about 717 property owners. Most of these owners feed into the Lee Summit School District, except for the Villa area, which is the Raymore School District. Now, the Winnebego Yacht Club is a gathering point kind of for the community, and it can be rented for weddings and other social functions, whatever you like. The Yacht Club offers 4 different nights of dining experience per week. There's a bar, there's an entertainment area, And they even have live bands that come and play on occasions. Lake Winnebego offers a saddle club as well. Now, Lake Winnebego does not have a pool, nor does it have any golf, but they do have a ski course and they have personal docks. The prices in Lake Winnebego start anywhere between $650 and they go all the way up to $4 million, even though the average sales price is about $842,847. At the time of this recording, there was a property, it's one of the most expensive in the area, that's coming up in this lake, and it's $11.9 million. Okay, moving on to Raintree. I love Raintree. Raintree has about 240 acres. The lake is smaller, but the community as a whole is about the same size as Lakewood. But Lakewood actually has the villa community just like Raintree. One of the biggest differences is Raintree does not have a golf course versus Lakewood does. Some things that Raintree has is it's an Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's a zero-entry swimming pool at that. It's got snow sledding that people love. There's walking trails, and there's scores of organized activities. I have friends who live in Raintree, and I've sold multiple homes in Raintree, and everyone who I talk to absolutely loves living in Raintree. Now, Raintree is a little less expensive than some of the other lake communities, with the price ranges anywhere between $350 all the way up to $800, with the average of about $529,036. All right. We are getting close to the end, and we are coming to Creekmore. Now, Creekmore has about 108 acres. It's one of the smaller communities and smaller lakes in all of the list that I'm offering here. And the population is about 1,400. It has a clubhouse, lake dining, a pool. You can spend your time in so many different facets in Creekmore. You can sail, you can fish, troll around on the No Wake Lake, and Creekmore also has a golf course. And there's also so many clubs that you can join, like the golf club, the kayaking club, the ladies luncheon group, a men's non-denominational Bible study, and a welcome committee. So there's like all these committees that you can join. Creekmore just is a unique neighborhood. The houses are a little newer, and the home prices range anywhere between $300,000 to $1.25 million, with the average sales price of about $644,151. The very last lake community that I want to share is luxury at its finest at Loch Lloyd. It's located just south of Kansas City, Missouri, off of Holmes Road, and Loch Lloyd boasts a resort lifestyle community. This is where Patrick Mahomes and some of the other football players live. From the moment that you drive through the gate of Loch Lloyd, you will recognize that this community is luxury, and it is different. When I say luxury and Loch Lloyd, they go hand in hand. This is a private gated community. There's 24-hour security. Loch Lloyd provides this carefree resort style living like no other in Kansas City. The amenities are top notch. The social gatherings are kid friendly to adult. There's activities that go around. They feed into the Belton school districts. They have a clubhouse, a fitness center, and I will say that the fitness center includes trainers that are available in case you want to bump up your health game. The lake dining at Loch Lloyd offers formal and casual dining. Obviously, they have other amenities such as pickleball, a putting green. There's the Loch Lloyd golf course. They have a swimming pool, which, by the way, they are upgrading it this year. They have tennis courts, pontoon boats are allowed, and there are 3 marinas in Loch Lloyd. Then this year, there's going to be the addition for a brand new recreation complex and pool. And the average sales price is $650,000 all the way up to $6 million, with the average sales price of $1.7 million. What lake community was your favorite? I want to know, so post it in the comment below. And if you live in a lake community here in the Kansas City metropolitan area, I want to hear about it too. So go ahead, put it in the comments below, and don't forget, also in the description is going to be my contact information. I hope this gave you a high-level view of the lakes here in the Kansas City area, and if you are interested in any of them, please be sure and reach out. I hope that you subscribe and follow along on this YouTube channel so that you can be the first to learn when I post those videos. And as always, go out and live your best Kansas City life.